Hi. I'm feeling very raw, kind of sad. I didn't really want to do a check-in video right now, but I felt this thing that I feel sometimes, like it's the right thing to do. So I'm back home. This is Grand Haven, Michigan, right down at the pier. Like if I came here as a tour stop, I'd be super happy. And that's good to know and good to remember. Just, life is mostly boring if we're lucky. So live in a place where you can be bored and still happy. I'm very happy here. Very happy in my house with Brian. He's already back to working a lot. I have had one day of work yesterday, but it was one of my lighter teaching days. So it's still feeling a little surreal. I had a massage just now. I have to get massages like once a month because of some tendonitis and old injuries in my neck and shoulder. It's the only way I can still play piano at the level that I used to, or close, pre-injury level. My massage therapist is really good. Paradigm Wellness. There you go. She also has a float tank. It's very cool. You should look it up. Yeah, just feeling very raw. Traveling with the band is hard. I know I said it already, and I debated while I was on tour saying it too much, because I would never want to spin anything the wrong way or make anyone think that I don't absolutely love with every bit of my heart being in this band. I really only come to love it to the degree that I love it now in maybe the last month. And it's sad to say that I've been in it for 2 years, but only just now came to realize that no one minds if I'm completely myself. I think that when you're somebody that has such different sides of yourself, like this, how I am with my own phone and YouTube and releasing albums once a month sometimes and all that, like that's not how I am in day-to-day life when I'm around people. Like when I'm around my family, other than like if my dad asks questions, I don't talk about any of this stuff. I can spend a whole week with my family and none of this side of myself ever comes up. It can be a very lonely kind of split feeling existence, and I think that's how I used to feel inside of a band. Like I'm doing all this other stuff with my solo music, and I felt like it would be bothering anybody if I were to talk about it or ask them to watch it or ask them what they thought. And I think I've grown a lot in realizing that part of that is because people know me in real time. Like if you know me in real time, you don't probably get anything out of seeing me also talk like this. So that's good. I don't need that from people anymore. I think I used to feel kind of personally offended or just hurt if people didn't seem interested in any of the stuff that I do in my solo little world. But I don't really feel hurt about it anymore. I just think I take up a lot of space and I use a lot of words, and I need to make sure that the times that I do spend with people that I am feeling like it's reciprocal. But that also means not downplaying who I really am too. And there are some relationships and situations that make me feel like I don't have as much of a self. Like I feel very invisible in a lot of relationships and situations. And that's weird to say considering I blast myself all over the internet so much. But so I didn't feel invisible being in this band on tour, like at all. I've found ways to feel very happy as a lead songwriter and a lead singer in this band. And I play less piano than I do as Jessica and the Rainbow. Like sometimes I'll just be playing a bass line with the left hand and then a very simple like do 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 do. And it's like from a keyboard perspective, it's not necessarily as fulfilling for me or as using of my skill set, but at the same time, like I'm getting to sing, so I'm doing that, and I'm having a big role just in the like moving the band forward, and sometimes the reason that that's what is going on in the song is because that's what the song needs. And I think I'm getting to a place where it's not about you know, like if you're going to work with others, it's about like what that situation needs, or it's about what that song needs. It's not about everyone getting to feel like equally useful. And maybe that's the other hard part. It's like I'm kind of the band leader, or at least I was on this tour, and Brian co-leads with me, and I think it's hard for me to work with others if I feel like I'm having to lead them and they're getting to do less than me. Like then I feel guilty about all of this extra work and all of this extra time that I've poured into something. And so it's like if you're going to do all that extra work but then also feel bad that you're not making it a situation where everyone can do things equally. I think that's why I never wanted to be in a band before, because I know that my songwriting is super prolific, hundreds of songs a year, and I know that the singing would be me as well. And so it's like, who would want to be in a band? I used to think, who would want to be in a band with someone who takes up that much space and has that much vibrancy or centrality to a group situation? I never understood that there would be people in the world that want to play cello and they want to support. And I think I first learned that with like Maddie Jackson and Hunter Zhao. And with Hunter, I really understood it because that was his main strength. He had zero interest in doing anything besides play cello, and he played cello brilliantly. And, you know, in an alternate reality, I could have made a band that had him in it. But he was going off to grad school in a million countries on all these fellowships. But with Maddie, it was hard for me to allow her to be a backing part of the band. Like, I really didn't. I did not allow her to stay in that role. Same with her sister Daphne, who played drums for me. It's like I couldn't allow people who I knew were bright, shining stars on their own. I couldn't allow them to take a back seat to me. But then when I tried to give them more to do, it's like that wasn't right for that specific band or those projects, because, you know, one of their strengths was writing their own songs and singing their own lead parts. And so it's like, then I just kind of encouraged them to go do that on their own, you know, and that kind of broke up that cohesiveness that was happening when they were playing with me back in like 2014, 2015. Like if they had wanted to do their own solo projects, they could have. I didn't need to like break up them playing in Jessica and the Rainbow for them to do it. Like that doesn't do anything. So I think I'm growing a lot. I'm trying to learn how to just be the center of something, or one of the centers of something, allow people to congregate, allow people to have a role, but know that I might still have the bigger role in it. And if they're choosing to be part of it, then that's okay. It's like I wrote music for the movie We're the World Mine, and I didn't play an equal role in that at all. I wrote the music. I was there for some recording days. They did like years and years worth of work and fundraising, and they got to tour around to all the different film fests and see all these different I mean, I don't know how they afforded it or if people paid for them to come out. Like I didn't get to go out to all of those. I did the music, and then I got a stipend, and then, you know, I was there for a tiny piece, but it was a huge part of my career and my growth to be a part of that movie. So maybe that's what it is. It's if you're going to be a center of a world, of a creative world, like allowing people to take part without feeling like it needs to be equal for everybody, because this idea that it needs to be equal for everybody is what's derailed me ever working with others. And that's insane. I should be working with others. So many people have so many gifts to bring to the world that I like facilitating humongous projects. I should let other people play small parts without feeling like I don't know. I'm repeating myself. I'm just feeling tour weary, but also like kind of sad to be back. And not because I don't want to go back to my piano teaching life, but because it's just such an intense experience to have. And then, oh, this is all about the band Cloudlight, if you don't know my band. I'm in a band called Cloudlight. Jessica and the Rainbow doesn't have a band. Hence all that other stuff I was just saying. So, yeah. I'm excited to get back to teaching. Like, I'm excited to get back into the flow of my normal routine, because teaching is like my 80%, as one of my cousin Kurt, who's my new spiritual advisor, he kind of described it. It's like, like if I didn't have so many piano students and songwriting students that I mentor, if I didn't have that, that's my foundation that makes it so I can live this 20% creative life. So deep gratitude to all of you who are part of that network for me. And it's not about it being more or less exciting. I mean, I actually like having a fairly simple, kind of boring life. Like, I don't want to have okay, my throat got funny when I said it. I mean, I like exciting stuff and I want to do cool things, but I really need my students, and I need my monthly income, and I need to pay my bills and pay my debts and pay my rent, and like, so do all musicians. Like, I'm no different than every other touring artist I've ever met in that regard. Like, they go off and live these exhilarating lives on the road, including people on some pretty big labels, and then they get home and they have to figure out how to pay the rent. And they like work odd jobs and are lucky if their job will take them back. So that's a kind of huge thing that nobody talks about in the music industry, is this reality that we may be treated one way on the road, made to feel like we are really making it, even if it's just making it in our small ways. Like, us going out on the road like this was a huge deal for us. It's a huge deal financially, it's a huge deal musically. It was a big deal to play for these people every night, and we did do a really nice job making good music, I think, at least according to the people who talked to us afterwards. And we felt good too. We had a really nice time playing these songs, I think, overall. And so, you know, that can feel like a big thing, and then you get home and you've got to just plug back into that daily grind and try really hard to, you know, save up the money and create the reality that allows for you to do it again sometime. And it's not easy at all, and nobody talks about that. Nobody that I know talks about that. That literally, because we're all spinning everything. We're spinning it so that you think we're a bigger deal than we are, but in reality, even if no matter how much success you get, you have to like pay for that success. It's a very strange industry, and I've talked about this a little bit before, but we've had successful touring artists come through and stay at our place. We've opened for different people, and you know, I've never heard somebody say that it's easy. Like, everyone that I talk to has verified or shared it without me even asking, like how short term it is, short lived, because it's so hard to finance. It's hard to do all the booking. All of it's unpaid. I mean, you know, you go out hoping to pay for your gas money, basically. It's not like vacations. And it's not, I don't know, but it's 100% worth it, at least to me. And I think to my bandmates, I think most people in bands, it is worth it. As long as you're in a band or a situation where you feel like your role is what you're looking for, I think it's worth it. But I mean, that's where I'm at with it. I don't know. So those are my post-tour thoughts. I love my 3 bandmates so much, Brian, Saya, and Mac. And yeah, I love everyone who hosted us and had us stay at their house and let us sleep over, or came to a show, or bought some merch, or, you know, listened to the songs, or posted us online. Like, we had so many people just being so kind and supportive, and I just feel really grateful for the experience, and really happy that we were able to do it, and that we're all home safe. And yeah, I don't know, it triggers thoughts about safety. Like, if I wanted to worry about being home safe, then part of me would say, well, then just never go out. Just don't go tour. Don't do anything. Don't do anything that has risk involved. And so I think where I'm at right now with that is this idea of like calculated risk. I feel like going on tour with this band is a calculated risk. It's a little hard on us financially, or even a lot. It is a little hard on us maybe emotionally. It's a little hard on us in terms of, I mean, this is kind of connected to finances, but stability-wise, in terms of making sure we all have jobs and situations set up that we can afford to be able to do it, in terms of the organization of our daily life, like what we have to come back to for our own stability and paying bills. There's just so many benefits, you know? So it's like, the music industry being mostly dead from a financial perspective does not mean that it's mostly dead from an anything else perspective. The music industry is very alive and well. It's just very, very hard to support yourself while doing all of it. So, yeah. I don't know. I just hope everybody who tries to do this with their lives who tries to do anything creative with their lives, I hope you don't feel like you're a failure just because it's hard. Or I hope you don't feel like you're a failure just because it's not very financially successful. I hope you feel like a success because you're doing it. Like, the very fact of doing it is success. Like, if you are writing songs and playing at a cafe near you and you have some people who tell you they like them, like, that's a success. Don't do what I did where you act for years and years and years and years like you don't have any fans. Like, I used to use such inflammatory negative language when I had tons of fans and people who were interested in what I was doing. But I wouldn't feel successful enough. And that's crazy. Like, you are successful just because you're trying to do it. If it's something that was put in your heart to do, or put in your mind or your soul or your creative spirit, and you just feel, oh my gosh, I'm really jingly today, but hi, Nicholas. And my nephew and I bought that together when I was in Minneapolis, or Minnesota, near Minneapolis. But if something's in your heart and mind and soul to do, and then you go ahead and do it, and it feels like a risk, and it doesn't make you money, but maybe it gives you rich life experiences and helps you follow a path that feels like it's useful in the world and like you're contributing to society and the people around you, like, that is success. And just don't let anyone tell you otherwise, because the music industry is broken, the theater industry is broken, the art industry is broken. Like, everything that used to maybe have a little bit more value, maybe wealthy people in the old days used to just give money or house artists to contribute to society, and all of that's broken right now. I have a Patreon page. If you want to give me $2 or $50, $200 a month, like, you can help fund us. I make it very easy for you. All you have to do is set up one card and it will auto debit from your account, and you will now be a patron of the arts. And if you don't want to do it for me, you can do it for thousands or tens of thousands of other artists that are on Patreon. There's so many of us. And I will say, Patreon's a new model, and one of the things that isn't great about it is it does sometimes create a sense of guilt for the artists, because I give so much of myself online, and that's what you're paying for. Ooh, just got a pain in my side. That was weird. Maybe I was about to say something that wasn't ideal. Well, maybe the way I should put it is, it needs to be a mutually beneficial relationship. So nobody owes artists anything. I'm not even trying to say that. It's a cultural phenomenon, and it is a sad thing that's happened, where artists feel less valuable, and you're able to stream and download things for $10 a month and get literally every bit of art you want at your fingertips. Or maybe it's not art, sometimes maybe it's, pop culture, but still, for $10 a month with Netflix, you're able to get anything you want. So why would you support us that are doing it in this DIY independent way? So you don't have to. And I actually, maybe that's the pain in my side. I don't mind if people don't support me. I don't feel anyone has an obligation to me, not even close friends or family. I look at it as, you have an opportunity to support artists. You have an opportunity to skip the middleman. It's like shopping at small businesses. You have an opportunity with Patreon to skip the middleman and pay a small amount to support people like me who are trying to bring more and more and more art and creativity and music that has heart and feeling and is raw and is meaningful to us, but to also some of our fans. Well, all of our fans, if they're fans, it's meaningful to them. So, we're trying to bring that into the world, but the world's not set up for us to succeed financially. And by succeed, I mean even be able to sustain. So the more people support us and buy our t-shirts, buy our merch, maybe, support my Patreon, and that'll ripple back into Cloudlight, but also Jessica and the Rainbow, like all of it, it's a big throbbing thing, and Spotify streams do not touch us. I've never received a dime for any streams on Spotify, and we've had a lot. I don't know why, but it just hasn't come through in that way. Same with, watching videos on YouTube. I don't have ads on. There's none of that's ever going to, that creates the love support, and that is invaluable to us too. Like, truly. Not just in a way of like, well, someday that'll turn into money or success. Like, no. It is invaluable to me to know that I am reaching hearts and minds. So if you're 10 years old and you don't have any money or any way to give money, like, I don't want your money, like, at all. I want you to just be helped and be healed by me speaking whatever truth is true for me. And if But if you're somebody who has a lot of money, well, A, you probably don't. I shouldn't make generalizations. But I have found that the people that really are into us aren't necessarily the people with tons of money. Anyway, that's just a ramble. I love the band that I'm in. I love Jessica and the Rainbow, the solo project that used to be a band, but I kind of accidentally got rid of my band member. It was going to be a rotating band. That's what I said when I started it. There were like 7 people who played with me at a pre-CD release party. Most of them students at the high school that I worked at. And just people coming in and singing 3-part harmony choir stuff. It was amazing. And then I did an album release show for Jessica and the Rainbow with 4 people. I did Lamplight Music Festival with 3 other people. Like, I was very committed to working with people for Jessica and the Rainbow. And then maybe because Cloudlight was such a real band and that was a lot to organize, I kind of got a little tired only about a year ago. My friend Jess Kramer played on stage with us. Like, there were, that was at the Earthwork Harvest Gathering last year. So I was still trying to, and in April, earlier of last year, my friend Charity played bass with us, and Maddie, and Hunter, and it's just like everyone's in school, everyone has different projects, everyone's busy, and I started realizing that having a rotating band is what doesn't make much sense. Because then there's no through line, and every time you had a show, you're starting from scratch and learning all new things together, and that's maybe what, maybe I wanted it to be a rotating band because I didn't want to have to figure out how to be in a band, but then now I've been in a band for 2 years, and I see that it is a tough thing to figure out. So maybe Jessica and the Rainbow will be a band again someday. I don't know. It just seems like that's not very flexible from figuring out, how to tour, how to work out schedules, how to practice. I'm randomly playing with these little guys. Anyway. I didn't know I had this much room on my phone still, to be honest. I mean, I just got back from tour and it kept saying I was full, but now it's randomly letting me film for 20 minutes. Well, have a lovely day. Thank you for welcoming me back, Grand Haven. I hope you follow whatever creative dreams are in your heart, and as much as you can, try to get thoughts of fame out of your mind. That's capitalism. People have put that in people's brains. It's capitalism. It's also very violent. It is an aggressive and violent thought to compete. Like, I want all the artists in the world, all the songwriters in the world, all of the musicians everywhere to feel like they have value, to feel that they are needed and valid and that their perspective is useful. And I want to go to all the house shows, and everywhere we play, I want 2 or 3 or 4 or probably 5 max, other artists to play, and I want to hear you. I want to hear your truth. I want to hear who you are. And I don't want to sit around at any of those shows wondering which one of us out of a million will get famous. That's insanity. That's completely insane. And you've been sold that. I've been sold that. My parents were sold that. Everyone that I've ever known was sold that. And so then when people detected talent or creativity in someone, they'd be like, ooh, you can be the next Bob Dylan. You can be the next Joni Mitchell. You can be the next Billy Joel. I can't tell you how many times when I was at a peak of my feelings of creativity, I was given those kind of thoughts, which derailed me. That's not what you're supposed to be thinking about as a genuinely creative, artistic, visionary type of person. There's millions of us in the world. It's not unique to be creative. It's just not. And you can be creative on every topic imaginable. And we're all probably supposed to be in some way. But that's supposed to, I don't believe in that. Anyway, my point is, be you. Let go of any of those kind of thoughts. Just focus on, in my opinion, focus on sustainability. Sorry, there's like dog poop on the ground. I didn't even mean to say it, but I was like, didn't want you to read something weird on my face and think that I meant something else. Okay, anyway, focus on sustainability. Find a way to do what it is you want to do, and find a way to pay for it, to support it, and if you can't figure it out, then ask for help. There are people all around that probably want to help. Maybe not with money, but maybe with giving you a place to stay if you travel somewhere. Maybe with setting up a house show for you at their house. And then maybe you just need to cover gas money, and then maybe everyone who comes to that house show will pitch in $10, and now you've got your gas money to get there. And that's you beginning to start the process of just getting out of your mind and getting out into the world with the thing that something in you is telling you wants to be in the world. If you feel like you want to be more in the world, like I've always felt like I wanted to tour more, but I waited until I was in my 30s to tour. Well, no, I did it A little bit. I did tour in my 20s too, but not much. A lot of people have been bolder than me on this earth. I have been not bold at all. I have been in my head. In my head. It got stuck on my head. I've been in my head, dreaming and imagining of things that may or may not lead to some sort of future fame or future success or future. What's the future? The future is now. No, but for real, the future is now. Like your future, your story is your life. I mean, either nothing matters or everything matters. So whether or not you get out of your own mind today and do something, a tiny step in that direction, is your life. That's your whole life. So future is imagining that there will be some future point that you will stop this living in the future. Stop this imaginary, made up, someday I'll do this and this and this. And it's like, do it now. Just do a tiny thing now, one tiny thing. And then that becomes your past. The thing that you did, going and playing one house show at one friend's house in one city a little bit far away, becomes your past. And that becomes your story. And then when that becomes your story, then you build confidence. Because now you're like, oh, my story includes that I did this and this. And now you maybe feel, oh, that wasn't so hard, so let me take one little bit bigger risk. Let me do one little bit harder thing. Let me ask for just a little bit more help this time. And let me believe that I have value so that people will care that I want to do this thing. And maybe people won't care right away. Maybe they need to kind of see it proven to them. But some people love adventurers and risk takers and storytellers. I'm a storyteller. My story is myself and maybe very vaguely the friends and bandmates and everyone that are around me, but I try not to tell their story. I try not to tell any of the drama of any of it, because then you would only have my perspective, and that's not fair. I think that we are supposed to use our lives to tell a story. Like when you think about people like Martin Luther King, it's not that he was telling stories, it's that his life was like a story. His life was so epic and involved so many risks and so many choices and so many actions that when we think about his life, it feels like a story. Like if your life feels stagnant, like it's not a story, my guess is you might be repressing little tiny things that you want to try and that you want to do. That's at least what was true for me. I shouldn't presume, but that's what was true for me, is I had all these thoughts about what I'm going to do in the future in order to make a change, but I was never doing any of them. I was thinking about them and dreaming about them and making maps and plans in my mind, but I wasn't doing them. So my life proceeded on the outside to look exactly the same as it had always looked. But in my mind, I saw something that felt great and interesting and profound. And I didn't have any of the courage to do it. In fact, the songs that were coming out of me sometimes were like 30 minutes long and really epic and involved a lot of confidence. And I had the confidence to play the songs, I had the confidence to write the words, but I didn't have the confidence to say, this is me and this is my story and I want to go into your city and play this for you because I'm that epic. I mean, I thought that was arrogant. That's not arrogant. You're epic too. We're all epic. Like anything that comes through you and feels like a gift or feels inspiring or feels inspired is beautiful. And you should let it come through you like water. Like I'm a faucet. You can turn it on. You don't have to feel ashamed or embarrassed of how epic you are on whatever topic it may be. But I've spent most of my life feeling embarrassed of how bigger than life I was. Because if someone had told me 2 years ago that this is what I would be doing with my bigger than lifeness, I would have been horrified. Because I would have known that most people close to me would have been like, well, what the F are you doing? And why are you doing it? And why don't you just do it this way? And why don't you just do it this way? And to this day, there are people whom I love that trigger the crap out of me with sort of a constant sort of suggestions approach. Well, why don't you do this? Well, why don't you do that? And I just want to be like, because that's not what I'm doing. Like, why? What thing in you finds it interesting to watch somebody be themselves, to watch somebody flow the way that I flow, and to criticize them to their face? Like behind my back, sure, go ahead, laugh at me. But to my face, to suggest that who I actually am doesn't have value and that it would only have value if I did it this, or this way, and to ask me why I do it, like I don't know why I do it. I don't know why I do any of the things the way that I do them, but I do them. And I encourage you to do the things that you want to do too. And maybe the reason you're questioning me so much, well, why didn't you do it this way? Why don't you do it that way? Maybe the reason you're so lost in all this questioning of me, or not just lost, but it probably hurts your brain to sit around wondering why I'm doing things the way I'm doing them, like that woman down there looking at me right now. Like, if you're that caught up in a mental loop of why is she doing this, why is she doing that, just know that that's probably what you're doing to yourself too. You are probably in your own mental loop. The second you have an impulse and you want to do something, like go play music at a bar or sketch something and share it online, you're probably, before you even get a chance to take that risk, you're probably going, well, why would I want to do that? Well, why would I want to do that? Well, what would I want to get out of that? What would I want to do this for? Who am I sharing it with? Why would I be showing it? And then you'd maybe ask a friend or a therapist and they'd agree with you. Like, no, don't do it. That doesn't make sense. It's not logical. It's not this. It's not that. There's like a little baby spider crawling on my hat. You know, and that's fair. I was always that way too. Like, if I couldn't figure out my impulses and the logic behind them, then I just didn't do them. But I promise you, I swear to you on every fiber of my being, on this bit of ground that I stand on, like, I could not say this stronger. You will regret that. Maybe I can't speak for everyone. I regret it. I regret that 10 years sooner in my career, I didn't just learn how to follow impulses. Follow your impulses as long as they're non-harming.